Ed, every person's consciousness has something known as thrones. Thrones are those, Ed, who are like source, forms of God's source that generate energy that comes together to form us, to form our consciousness. So our parents, God, these are all natural authorities in our life because we come from them. And Ed, they are more powerful over our conscious mind because they are the source. They are from within. So for example, if our conscious mind, if we believe that carrots are bad for us, when we eat carrots, we will not manifest poisoning because our thrones, our subconscious says that carrots are good for us because that's what we've inherited, the thrones. Now, the Thug Matrix has a similar system, a replica system that they have done, Ed, and very consciously, I mean. They have the Thug Mind Matrix, Ed, which has thrones. And they program us subconsciously using these thrones from childhood. They have the teachers, they have the church religious authorities, and they use ritual, repetition, and acceptance of authority that we do as little children to enforce these thrones. And these sit in our subconscious and they block our progress when we want to go in directions not ratified by the thug world authorities. These thrones, Ed, get called into action when as adults we start wanting to rebel and believe what we want to believe, go in paths that they don't want us to go in, basically freedom, Ed. And now, Ed, in adulthood, usually they can't bring that your first grade teacher to tell you. They will try all that, of course, but usually they can't do that because now you've in your conscious mind, you believe what you believe and you want to go on the path that you want to go on. So if they do that directly, Ed, it won't work. So what they do, Ed, when they want to harness a human, what they do, Ed, is that they tap through this throne psychically. They make a psychic connection to the human via somebody else. And that somebody else, Ed, is just anybody that a human will give value or worth to in terms of listening to what they say. Now, for example, Ed, if I go online and I watch a certain podcast or I watch a certain show, I watch some guy, Ed, talking regularly. The thugs will take it that, okay, so she listens to this guy. Now what they do, Ed, is they will form a psychic connection. They already have it, but without that nobody gets famous. So they use that psychic connection, Ed, and they'll have that guy saying stuff, Ed, that they want me to know. Now I'll give you an example. They'll like, if a human is beginning to, like, say, get into going off in nature alone, they'll have the people that this human listens to start talking about how it's dangerous outside and you should there are so many things to do indoors, and they'll try and without aggravating the human, try and herd the human, Ed, into a particular direction away from what the human wants to do. And sometimes it can be very dangerous. What I gave you is a very simple, small example. But imagine the human wants to go tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, the human wants to go. And tonight there's an episode of the podcast that says, you must do this urgently, you must, go visit this museum, this is there, it's only open for 2 days. That kind of stuff. So that human's trip will get cancelled because of that. So Ed, this can be leveraged in many ways when they are doing surveillance of us, which they're doing all the time. That's just one example, Ed. Another way, Ed, that they do this psychic connections thing Ed is when, and it's actually for this that I started recording this, Ed. Ed, they will use, and they use so-called friends, and the most powerful one, Ed, is if you accept a psychologist or a counselor or someone who's elder, like a teacher or an elder colleague, someone at work who's elder. If you show that you respect what that person says, Ed, and they will do a test, like they'll have that person recommend that, why don't you wear yellow? Yellow suits you more. And so if you buy something yellow or you wear something yellow, they're like, okay, bingo. This is a channel that works. He obeys suggestions from this channel. Then, Ed, through that channel, they will start mind manipulating you. And here's the deal. There are two messages a person is giving you, Ed, when they're in interaction with you. The first message, Ed, is, hi, Ed, how are you? I am fine. You know what I mean? This is the verbal message. And then, Ed, there is the psychic projection coming through. And this is a huge spectrum of consciousness. Psychic projection, Ed. There is, like I'm speaking to you, Ed, right now. But while I'm speaking to you, I'm mentally seeing or projecting a vision of you in pain or suffering or crying. You don't know this, but you'll break down. You'll break down if you're emotionally open to me, and you'll break down. So now, Ed, I can do that really easy because I just have to sit with your photo or just sit and think of you crying for 15 minutes before I meet you. And there are those who are trained to do this, and they can do it in 2 minutes, 1 minute. You can train your mind. So the thugs have whole call centers. They've got the whole the works trained to do this. So that's one sort of attack on the psychic spectrum. The other attack, Ed, is when you're talking to somebody, someone is using the psychic channel that they have to that person, right? They're using that psychic channel that they have to that person to speak to you. So you're speaking to someone, you're saying, hi, how are you? And they're like, here's the, pizza that you ordered, for example. And meanwhile, the people who are in psychic connection with that person are saying to you, you're a wreck, you're broken, you're destroyed, you're this, you're that. And they've been doing that for 2 hours before this person came, or 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, days, weeks, depending on, how desperate they are for you to change your course. So you see what I mean, Ed? That's on the psychic spectrum. And then there is a powerful psychic spectrum, Ed, and that is seduction. If you're sexually turned on by somebody, then the projection they do of you affects you huge, and the projection of others being done through them is huge, and the vast majority of humans will fall ill physically. Like physically, you'll feel so drained, you'll take days to recover. And now, Ed, in our times and our situation, it's not one person doing a psychic attack or two, it's call centers of them. And sometimes they're attacking multiple humans at the same time. And it's not always just humans they're attacking either. It's the clones who don't know that they are clones. There are some of them high quality ones. So like if you attack one of them, you're attacking 45 of them. All 45 of them, gonna start feeling ill and that sort of thing. So what I'm trying to say is this. Become aware of the thrones in your life. Become aware of who those people are who, when they speak, you give attention and you value what they say. Because that person can become a psychic channel to you. Now, I'm a person who lots of people listen to and whose word is valued by a lot of people. But one of the reasons that people do continuously value me is because my words are energizing them, and they are feeling like over months and over years they don't get drained after listening to me. You know what I mean? And that's just a really simple common sense way by which you know that someone is not a channel. Because a person that can say something really inspiring to you and like fire you up, and you go for like a few hours and then you crash. When the crash comes, and you should see who was the throne that I listened to, because you got psychically attacked and you're being psychically attacked. My friend Demon B, he says that the majority of psychic attacks being done in our times, the psychic attack is not in the moment, because then you'll know that this person is a channel to attacking me. You won't speak to that person. He says the majority is they'll wait till you go to your house and you have a shower or whatever, and you're reasonably far from the channel physically, and then they psychically tune in, because psychically you're still connected to that person. You're still in the back of your mind, you're thinking about what they said. If they told you that this kind of car is it's a good car, then the window is open, the channel is open, so they can do it later. But this is why you got to be clever, you got to be careful, you got to note who was the throne that I spoke to. And of course, there might be like 5 people that inspired you, but your instinct will tell you who was the channel. And those channels, Ed, they might be like somebody you don't interact with personally. It could be some internet. Like I used to get really, really like inspired by this guy I used to watch on YouTube. It's a very popular channel actually, and these days I'm finding out that if it's a popular channel, they got more than 1,000 or 2,000 people watching. Unfortunately, they are channels for attack. But yeah, I used to get an ad. I was so shocked because I went to meditation one day. Why am I so drained? And I saw that guy is talking all these great things with a demon sitting near him, a parasite, and a ugly, fear-filled, fear generating parasite. And so while my mind was getting inspired, I was actually catching fear. That channel was telecasting fear. So you got to be sensitive, and you got to know who the thrones are, and you don't got to give anybody in your life the authority to know more about you than you. Anybody. I would say your twin flame is the only exception, because they are your soul. But you can't just, imagine that about somebody. You got to see proof. You got to know from your inner knowing that they are your soulmate. You can't just, pick a guy that I'm in a relationship with now and I'm going to imagine that he knows more about me than me. No. But I think everybody gets that by now. So yeah, become aware of the thrones. Don't know who you're giving that position to in your life, because you can get so thwarted and drained by that.